Hello, my name's Gavin and this is Genre Books, and I'm recording this on a Tuesday night. It is Tag Tuesday and this is the How Do You Rate Your Books tag. I've been tagged kindly by Pat from Book Chat with Pat, and this tag was created by Emily at Novelle Novels. There are 9 prompts and let's get down to it. Question number 1. How often do you DNF and what makes you DNF? Not very often, and I don't like to admit defeat with these books. They're not DNFs, I've just not finished them yet. And this is one thing that Goodreads I do find helpful for. I keep track of the books that I haven't finished yet. They haunt me, and it even lets me know quite how far I got through that book as a challenge to come back and give it another pass. There are plenty of books that I plan to read cover to cover and end up maybe just dipping in for a chapter or two before having taken away what I wanted to know, safe in the knowledge that I will come back to it. Take, for example, this book, Richard Taraskin, the music from the earliest notations to the 16th century. I'm barely 200 pages into this. This is the first in a 5-volume set. There's nearly 4,000 pages of in-depth, dense, erudite scholarship that, if I am frank, I have not the time for at the moment, but I will do. Question number 2. Do I rate books as 1 star? Short answer, no. Longer answer, no, but I have done it once. Skimming through my Goodreads earlier today, I wanted to see how many I had set as 1 star, and it's a grand total of 1 book. I may have mentioned my thoughts on this book on a previous video, but that book was The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown, which is just a bad book. And I think maybe I downgraded it from 2 stars to 1 because of the undeserved hype that it received. The central idea is stolen from another work. The plot is scattershot and seems to be contrived just to fit in as many landmarks as the author could. When you read about a place that you know about, for example, I'm pretty sure they go to Stonehenge at one point. I started reading his description of Stonehenge and I'm not entirely sure when the book was written, but if he hadn't just copy and pasted the Wikipedia article about Stonehenge, he certainly just cribbed what he's written from a leaflet he would have got from English Heritage when he visited. But the Da Vinci Code is the exception. It's the only book I have given 1 star review to. There have been books I have not enjoyed, but if I can see there's something in there, whether that is a possibility of it being good, whether I can think that someone else might find it good, exciting, whether I can see craft there, I'll try to be generous. Question 3. What is a 2-star book for you? I'll follow on from the 1 star. I think a 2-star book is just a bad book. But if I see artistry there, if I can see that it's a good book but it's really not for me, I will probably bump that 2 stars up by 1. And this has set me to thinking, what are ratings? What are they for? Are they my objective analysis of a work? Are they my emotional reaction to the work? Are they the caprice of my mood at the time? Question 4. Is a 3-star book a good book for you? Yes, it is. It means I enjoyed it well enough. I don't think it's something that is setting the world on fire. Possibly not touching me to my very soul, but kept me turning the pages, kept me entertained. But 3 is a rating that is slap bang in the middle, and consequently I have no strong opinions about them either way. I enjoyed the book enough to read the book. I enjoyed the book enough to rate it afterwards, but I didn't enjoy the book enough to talk about it on Booktube. They're books where, although I won't hunt them out, if I come across another book by the same writer, I might well give it a chance. Question 5. What does 4 stars mean to you? Well, that just means it's a good book. Sometimes it could mean it's a very good book. But it is a touching greatness. It's a book I'd be happy to give my opinions on. It's a book I'd be happy to recommend to someone. But it isn't something that I will carry a copy round hoping to thrust into someone's hands and proselytise on. Oftentimes these are books by writers that I do enjoy, and here again is where I start to question ratings, because sometimes I will read a book. If I was reading the same book by a complete unknown, I may well be giving a 5-star rating to that book. But if I read a 4-star book from a, to my mind, 5-star author, if I know that author can do better, if I know that author has done better, or I know that author will do better in the future if I'm reading an earlier work, that affects the score I give it. Question number 6. Do you ever do half-star ratings? No. A score of 1 to 5 is so arbitrary anyway that if I'd be more tempted to score everything on a 1 to 10 scale than I would be to start mucking around with half-star ratings. But then I wouldn't match Goodreads. And I'm not starting this again. Question 7. Do you rate 5-star books often? And what do 5-star books have to do to make them rate that high? Again, I looked through Goodreads earlier today, just in terms of the books I've read in the last year, and I do seem to rate quite a few of them highly to that 5-star standard. I'd say between 20 and 25% maybe. I think for a book to do that, it has to hit you immediately. Sometimes it can do that in the last page. It has to be a book that stays with you. It has to be a book that you know, a book that festers. But I do try to make it a case of what does a book have to do to make me rate it that highly, not the case of what a book is, if that makes sense. I try not to be led by the thought that this book must be brilliant because it is written by XYZ. Why have I rated such a high proportion this highly? I must have great taste. I am trying to select books I think I will like, as I think most readers would do. But am I being led by popular opinion in my ratings of these books? Alternatively, could I be actively rebelling against that and trying to be iconoclastic? Question number 8. Has your rating of books changed over the years? Yes, they would have to change. What I find interesting about books is different to what I found interesting about books 25, 30 years ago. I've read many more books now. I've got more books in my long-term memory, thankfully, to compare any new book I'm reading against. For many of the books I read, I have more contextual knowledge about them, and this probably flavours how I rate them differently to how I would do without that contextual knowledge. I'm probably less of a snob than I used to be about what constitutes literature, and I'm probably more of a snob about what I do read than I was when I was learning about the world of books. If I were to go back and re-rate everything that I have read in years past, then I probably would score some of them differently. Whether that would be fair given the distance in time from having first read them, I'm not sure, and I'm also not sure who that exercise would benefit. Again, it brings me back to that question, what are the ratings for? I know this is how do I rate them, but I think the what is a very interesting question. Is it for me? Is it for others? Is it for posterity? Doubtful. In rating a book, am I giving validation to it? In rating a book in a certain way, am I seeking validation for having done so? A great many of the writers that I read are 6 feet under now, so I'm hardly bolstering their egos or doing much for their bottom line. I'm likely overthinking this. Just read a book and mark it 1 to 5. Question 9. Where do I record the ratings of the books I read? On Goodreads, which I should probably start adding to the notes of my videos. And when I really do want to discuss a book, it'll be rated right here. And so to tag other booktubers, Annie at Obscure Book Adventures, Bartel's Bookshelf. I think he's on a little week-long digital holiday, but Roy from Roy Reads Anything, Sean D. Standfast, and Elspace Books